I chose three very, very different Beethoven sonatas: an early sonata, a middle period sonata, and a late sonata. In the case of the early one, Opus 2, number 3, and it became a very, very important work for me because it won me a scholarship to Edinburgh University when I performed it in an audition. I then went on to give my first recital in Edinburgh in front of the whole university in a big hall, Beethoven Opus 2, number 3. It was there in my London debut, it was there in Carnegie Hall, and these pieces become very, very special to you. They're like old friends. And last year I played the Appassionata Sonata, which was my second choice, 25 times from October until January. And it's a work that I admire tremendously. It's not just a matter of loving it, but understanding what has gone into it, the great changes that Beethoven made in it. And I have never tired of it. 25 times wasn't enough. I could go on and do it even more. And then the last one, Opus 109, is a very, very different sonata, very different altogether. It has this fantasy-like opening movement, which changes speed, which does all sorts of things that Beethoven hadn't done before. And particularly in the case of the ending, with these long, long trills that go on for 27 slow bars and gradually build up to this huge climax. I've also loved this sonata. In fact, I could say that these three sonatas are the Beethoven sonatas that I love most out of all of them, and that's why I've chosen them. Also, there is the fact that obviously I've listened to a lot of recordings, I've heard a lot of performances of these sonatas, and I've done research into how Beethoven was reputed to play. Czerny, for example, a composer who studied with Beethoven, mentioned that Beethoven's playing was too gigantic for the pianos that he played. And Beethoven said that they were useless, these pianos. They were like tinkling harps, and that they were just, not satisfactory. He obviously wanted to get the very, very most that he could out of the music that he wrote. And that's why he wrote the way that he did, with very, very big passages of scales, arpeggios, all sorts of things, with very, very great deals of drama. And so there is that aspect of Beethoven which not everybody adheres to. And even Friedrich Ries was another composer who studied with Beethoven. He said that in comparison with Beethoven, most other performances were pale. And that's one thing that Beethoven must never be. Also, he said that Beethoven, although impetuous at times, stuck very, very much to the pulse, the beat of the music that he played, his own compositions. And that is one very, very big feature of classical music. The energy is in the beat that just keeps going and going. And of course, unless a composer says, slow down or speed up, you stick to the beat. Not everybody does. And it's something that I can't understand. Why slow down here? Why go a bit faster there? And so when I play Beethoven, I adhere very, very strictly to whatever he has asked me to do. Not that this will make a boring performance. In fact, quite the opposite. I think that it would elevate it into something that, he would have been very pleased to hear. When I was 6 years old, I learned a Beethoven sonatina. And to my surprise, my music teacher actually entered me into a competition. I went to play in a big hall, the City Hall in Hull, which held 700 people. And there were 65 children playing Beethoven's sonatina in F. 65. And in the end, Max Pirani, who was the judge, came on the stage and said, now, we had a situation where sometimes the playing was like just plain bread. Sometimes it was like bread and butter. And on a few occasions, it was like bread and butter and jam. And you, Angela Brownridge, produced bread and butter and jam. And I won the competition. And I loved that sonatina. I really loved it so much. It was the first big piece I think I'd played at the age of 6. And of course, after that, I went on to play other Beethoven sonatas. And when I got to the Pathetique, when I was 11 years old, I was absolutely astounded by this piece. I just loved it so much. I played it night and day. I had a recording of Richter, which was a very, very good choice, because he played the first section after the introduction extremely fast. To me, it was full of strength, it was wild, and I just absolutely adored it. The second movement in particular really epitomized Beethoven, not only the great strength of his compositions, but the sweetness the tranquility of his slow movements. And it just went on from there that Beethoven became very, very important in my life. In my debut in London, in my debut in Carnegie Hall, I always started with a Beethoven sonata. And to this day, I love him more than ever. So he was a very natural choice for a recording.